Good morning, afternoon, day, whichever it is for you. So I'm starting with editing some photos. I'm going to start with cropping photos on the photo tab. You want to do this first because then later on when you do your color, it's going to try to process your color while you crop. So start with the color, or start with crop, then go to coloring. Next we go to the color tab. Just click on the bottom there where it says color from photo, and now you're going to dial in your exposure first. It's your base. It's the base of everything that you're going to be doing. You want to make sure that you have your mountain peaks on your coloring is not too high down below in that parade. You want to make sure your valleys are not too low. So you want to get it around the middle-ish, close in on that spot. So I'm going to start making adjustments here in a moment. I'm doing this after the audio after the fact because I had some reverb effect when I first recorded it. So here's where we're going to start to go. We go to the HDR wheel, which is that second wheel next to the first, when you start on. Then you're going to kind of bring it down. You adjust an exposure. You can use it by just dragging it. I have a micro panel, coloring panel from Blackmagic that I'm using that I can just use the wheel to lower the exposure, which works really great. Beyond that, you just want this is a free. In fact, everything I'm using on this, besides the micro panel and a Wacom tablet for my pen, are free in DaVinci Resolve. So it's a free program. From everything on this photo is going to be in the free. And so we're going to start with exposure, like I said. Now we're going to go ahead, and after we dial that in, we're going to start with a second node, which is a contrast and pivot. So how you create your next node is you hit Alt S, and that'll create a serial node. So put it in concurrent, like in a serial, it goes in a sequence. Basically, you go from left to right, from that left little green dot down to the bottom, like about the middle. Then your next one, you hit Alt S while you have the exposure node selected, or you can just right click and then left click on Add Serial Node. All right, so for this contrast, we want to go back to the first main wheel, the primary wheels. And the primary wheels, so there's a pivot, the pivot spot. It's defaulted at 0.35, I believe. And that's going to be a line I'm kind of going across with my mouse right there. I was talking about that in the original video before. The reverb was not working well. But anyways, pivot is basically sets a line. And now when you increase your contrast, what happens is that it's going to push away when you increase the contrast from that line. If you lower your contrast, it's going to push everything towards that line. So everything's going towards 0.35. If we did it all the way down to 0, it'd basically go right to that 0.35. Everything would be as close as it could to that spot. So adjusting pivot, I usually go down to around 0.36. I just bring it down a little bit, somewhere in the 0.3s. There's other people who will give you the exact number you want to use. I just bring it down a little bit, down into the 0.3s, 0.36, 0.35, somewhere in that range is plenty perfect. And now as I expose, I'm just kind of bringing up the contrast just to get a little bit of a separation of the different types of colors, get some details back. Now we're going to add another node. This is kind of like your color boost, your saturation, your temperature. This is where you're kind of bringing everything back. So the exposure adjustment, the contrast you kind of got started, but now you want your color. This is where some of the magic starts to happen. So in this case, I just deleted the node and I'm just recreating, just kind of talk about recreating nodes. But you can do a shortcut key is Alt S. If you're on the contrast tab or the contrast node, you hit Alt S and it brings it up. That's just a shortcut for Windows. All right, so color boost, saturation / temperature. It's kind of like bringing like the temperature of what your photo is going to be. You can call it whatever you want. You basically just right click on there and change the label. So I'm going to boost the color. I want to bring my usual max that I usually kind of like as a rule of thumb that I kind of try to follow as a guide is a max of 12 on the color boost. I don't want to overdo it. So I'm usually in like the 10 to 12 range is what I'm usually at. That's usually a good amount of boost just to kind of help bring things up. You can go higher if you really want to. At one point on this video, I cranked it all the way up to like 70. So you're going to see here in a moment, it's going to go just super high. See, I'm all the way up, raising up and if you can look at her skin, she's starting to, it looks a little bit unnatural. So I brought it back down. So you just want to bring it up a little bit. 10 to 12 range for color boost. You can play with it, play around with it, color boost however you want. Now we're going to go to saturation, which is so how you can adjust it is you just click in the box and move left or right. Right goes to the higher, left goes lower. So you're just dialing in the saturation where you want that saturation to be at. After you do that, and you got that one, everything else. Here's your everything else. You're going to get like, in this case, all I added was a dehaze, which is free, included in the free version of DaVinci Resolve. In another video, I'll show you some AI ones that are included in the studio version that you have to pay to actually access, which is it's just a one-time fee for DaVinci Resolve currently. So, and you get free upgrades. It's an amazing program. I highly recommend it. So I'm just adding a dehaze. So we have I have my favorited ones that I use the most, that for effects, for photo editing. That way I just drag and drop them when I want to. It's in the library. You hit the 3 dots over to the right side. Not that one. There we go. There I go. I'm narrating, telling myself to do it. So as you see, I got my favorites. Or at least that's everything. That's an entire list. I mean, it's a big list. So, but I like it on just my favorites. Just it makes it simple, easy. In this case, dehaze is a really good, easy program. A really good effect. It's gonna, because this is like a landscape sea haze photo. So I mean, that's a little bit much. I like the start of that look, but I wanted to dial it back a little. So the way you can do it is if you look on that setting, if you move the box, it makes smaller adjustments. If you grab the actual dot, it makes big adjustments. It goes quite a bit drastic, and then you can just hit reset. But you bring it back a little bit, just a touch. I like that look. So in that case, that's really all you're doing with your photo editing. Everything included, like, you have all sorts of options, and I'll cover those in a different video. But for now, this is what we're working with on this one. And thank you so much for watching my video on using DaVinci Resolve for photo editing.